Kind of the host, Johnny C. and Jim DePola Live. We've got Jim DePola Live, which is acting like Jimmy D right now, infamous Jimmy D. So I got to fix Johnny's. Up here he comes. Yay! Hey, Johnny.
I don't really hear you guys much.
Can you hear us now? Wow, today's been like technological day. Can you hear us?
The weather. It's the weather.
We can hear Johnny. So, okay, I'm going to put Johnny. Let me see. Hold on. Sorry, everybody.
We're going to talk real estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. and Mike Rauch. And today's guest is
Thank you, Ross.
Dorothy Jacks.
We do. We have a very special guest this week. It's Palm Beach County property appraiser Dorothy Jacks. We have so many questions to ask because it's such a key component of real estate market and home ownership and business ownership, of understanding values of property, because it affects your tax bill. And we're going to find a little bit about that. But Dorothy, I also noticed that you guys are really heavily involved in like mapping for the county and stuff like that. I had no idea. So we're going to talk about stuff because I found that to be very interesting. Before GPS, I used to use the DOLF maps all the time. So I know how important, know where everything is important. How are you doing today, Dorothy? All right?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's good to be with you. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for taking the time. And of course, we have Ross Komarinetz from Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach, trying to be Jimmy D, probably doing better than me being Jimmy D. How you doing, Ross?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Hey, good. Thank God that we've been very blessed that we weren't affected by the hurricanes too badly. But I really feel terrible for the people on the West Coast. And I read an article this week, Ross, from the New York Times. I think it was a front page article talking about how Ian might like totally wreck the real estate market in Florida because of rising insurance rates. So we're going to just talk a little bit about that, nice, happy, sunny, sunny things. And then we've got Mike Rauch from the mortgage firm. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, good morning, Jimmy. What a great day. We don't often have big time stars as the guests on the show, so I'm really, really excited to have Ms. Jacks on the show with us.
Yeah, me too. And for everybody that doesn't know, Mike is the mortgage guy. He works for the mortgage firm, which is a direct lender. Mike has a lot of questions he would like to ask Dorothy, which we're excited about. And when we talk to Mike today about what's going on in his world, we're going to be talking about 2002. So I don't know what the Academy Award winners were back then or who won the Super Bowl or anything. I should have done the research, but I was too busy. But that's where we are right now is 2002. Do I sound a little better right now?
It just got slightly better, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that my microphone wasn't in front of me because, I'm a pro. So
just real quick, I'm going to throw out that the Bucks won the Super Bowl that year.
Do you think the Bucks won that year?
I don't know why that's
Johnny would know, and you know what? I can't get him on. I can't get him on right now. Let me try one more time. I don't see his camera.
Probably wrong, and everybody's yelling at their radio.
Yeah, Ross, but who won the Academy Award for Best Picture? Can you pull that one out of your head?
I know Micah's going to be looking this up later.
Old school.
Sure.
I'm thinking before I cheat.
My guess is old school. Wasn't that around that time? Not that time. That's what won it in my house.
Okay. I don't know. I think we got Johnny in. Johnny, can you hear us?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yay. So glad to have you back.
Oh.
I hate being Johnny. Johnny is the pro of this group, Dorothy. And without Johnny, we're kind of driving around with any kind of guidance or anything. So take it over, Johnny.
Well, it's great to have Dorothy Jacks with us. Let's get a real appropriate start to the show. Thank you for being with us. I know we probably got people streaming right out the gates on Facebook. Of course, we give you two options to live stream with us on a Saturday. Facebook, Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook. We've been live streaming for about 4 minutes now. On YouTube as well. That's Florida Talk Real Estate LLC. You will find all kinds of videos to consume, informational chunk videos, plus we live stream every Saturday for 2 hours of infotainment. And of course, the good old terrestrial radio, 92.1, 101.7. Thanks for tuning in on a Saturday, riding through the first early little bumps of the show. Things will smooth out from here, I do promise. At least I hope so. I got a big pocket full of hope this Saturday. And of course, thank you for tuning in. Wherever you might be worldwide on your free download, your iHeartRadio app. That's right. We are worldwide with that free download. Great to have you with us. And you're welcome to be a part of the show. With Dorothy Jacks joining us today, Palm Beach County property appraiser. Good opportunity to maybe get some answers to questions that otherwise you've been like, I don't know how to get these answers. Join us, 877-927-6969. And of course, if you're not comfortable on the air, we have a team of pros, and we can always get the answers you're looking for. Go to floridatalkrealestate.com, your one-stop real estate shop, and you'll see all your access points, including the hotline there for the entire team. That includes Mike Rao, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. Good morning to you, Michael. How are you?
Good morning, Johnny C. Good morning, everybody. Hi.
Nice to see you, my friend. Ross Komarinetz, who we heard the melodious tones a little bit earlier. Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach. I put Brightway and Juno together. Did you see that?
I like it.
Ross, how are you, my friend?
I am doing well. I want to say hi to my daughter. Also, when you said Bruno, you have a little girl, and I'm sure she likes Encanto.
A little bit, yes. We've done some sing-alongs, yes.
Okay, and we don't talk about Bruno. So when you started saying Bruno, I was like, no, we don't talk about Bruno.
We do not talk about Bruno. And hello to any little ones out there watching today. That's pretty special. Jimmy D's with us every Saturday, too. Let's get that introduction on the table. That is our fearless leader, Jim DePola, with the Florida Home Pros team. I've told you for over a decade, he runs a top-producing Keller Williams team. It's Keller Williams Innovations, y'all, where you'll find the Florida Home Pros team. Good morning, Jimmy D.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Happy South Florida. Sorry for all the technical difficulties and everything today. We are getting better and better, believe it or not. Soon we're going to be having a multi-camera system. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to be doing some really some exciting stuff to turn this into. I call this the Brady Bunch podcast because we look like all the little cubes. We should be looking around and pointing at each other.
Yeah. Well, here's the story of a really awesome guest that we have on a Saturday too, the Palm Beach County property appraiser. And then Jimmy D was telling me also like has other responsibilities that we were otherwise like totally unaware of. But that's kind of the cool part of learning, having Dorothy Jacks with us on a Saturday. Great to have you with us, Dorothy. Good morning to you.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to be with you. Really is. I'm looking
thanks
forward
for putting
to
on your seatbelt and riding through a few of those bumps out the gates.
Absolutely. Technology. It's our new world.
My first question for Dorothy is: could you tell the difference between Jimmy D and Johnny C as the host of the show?
Who's the
Absolutely.
realtor? Who's the realtor? Who's the radio pro? Not too hard to figure that out.
Everyone has to stay in their lane, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get into Dorothy, Johnny, but first let's just knock out a couple of things. We have an open house coming this week, so let's just get that out. Cameron Post is up at the house at 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock today. He's on hold right now, and I just want to knock him out so we can get to that open house.
Well, let's get some of those details then. Cameron, thank you for joining us out the gates and welcome. You're on Florida Talk Real Estate. How are you this morning?
Good. Thank you guys for having me. How's everybody else doing this morning?
Peachy. Awesome. Thank you for asking.
We're doing very good, Cameron. So today, which open house are you going to today?
We're going to be doing the open house in Palm City. It's going to be at 2167 Southwest Solitaire Palm Drive.
Nope. Okay, sorry. It's
right off
30.
Martindale.
I'm sorry, Cameron. It's 3261 Southwest Solitaire Drive.
Yeah, Solitaire Palm Drive, and that's in
Yes,
Palm
3261.
City. No,
You had the numerical wrong. 3261 Southwest Solitaire Drive. Wow, today has been a very weird day.
I do apologize.
It started off coming off. No problem. So tell us a little bit about the house. It's up in Palm City, right? I love this house.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to do this open house. We got rained out last weekend, or the last time, so hopefully we get some better weather this time around. This is a gorgeous pool home in a gated community. It's 3 bedrooms, 3 good-sized bedrooms, and 2.5 baths. The master bath has the separate shower and tub with the dual sinks, and it's fairly good-sized bathroom, I'd say at least. You got pool with a spa and big screen lanai, so you got big area to go out and relax and hang out with the family. The house was built in 1999, and it's CDS construction. You're looking at 2150 square foot under air. So it's pretty decent sized home. It's actually one of the lowest priced pool homes in Palm City at this time. So that's also, a great thing. You got the accordion shutter set that was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was installed in 2008. And, we got a lot of new updates with the house. We got a 2017 AC, 2020 roof, 2022 resurfaced pool deck, and you got 2022 exterior paint. And we also have a new pool pump for the pool. So that's always a plus. The HOA here is super low. It's only at $245 a month. And, it's a super quiet neighborhood. And you're also, super close to all your shopping. You got a couple of top-rated schools in the area. And you're also close to 95 in the Turnpike. So, it's pretty much all in one here.
Yes, and the pool was resurfaced along with that pool deck. So this house is in, move-in ready condition. Now, this house is priced. When we set the price, I think we put it on the market about a week and a half ago. This house is the third least expensive pool home in all of Martin County right now. Okay, so this is a deal. We priced it at that point because while we had great upgrades of the new roof replaced and the pool surfacing redone and everything like that, and the AC is newer, but the carpeting is a little dated and the kitchens are dated, but everything's in great working condition. We've had a lot of action on this property. We had a couple offers that we weren't happy with yet. A couple of people are still trying to structure stuff. With the financing right now, things are getting really crazy, which we're going to talk to Mike about later. But this is a great pool home if you're looking. And if you're looking for great school systems, this is it. And also, when you talked, it's close to 95 and Turnpike, Cam. What I love about this community is that you are literally a 3-minute drive, even if there's traffic, to the Turnpike, and maybe 5 minutes to 95. And but you're not close enough where you hear any of the traffic. Right. And you're in a gated community and you're in one of the top rated school systems in the state. It's just plus. So go out and meet Cam today. He'll be there from 11 to 2, right?
Yep. We're going to be out there from 11 to 2. I think this is going to be a great opportunity. It's going to sell quick. And I'll be out there today from 11 to 2. Come check it out.
Yep. Come visit Cam and he's doing great. He's at the Keller Williams. I forget, Cam, are you at the Stewart office or the St. Lucie office?
No, I'm with the Stewart office. We actually just relocated to Palm City right off of Matheson. So our office is actually right down the street from the open house today.
That's right. Well, thank you so much. And do me a favor, Cam, will you?
What's that, Jim?
You were slow, man. Sell that house.
Sell it, baby.
Sell it. Just sell it, okay?
Yeah. Thanks, Cameron. Appreciate you very much, my friend. And
thanks for having me, guys. And I'll be tuned in for the rest of the episode. I'm excited about the property appraiser being on there. I'm sorry I forgot your name.
It's quite all right.
Jacks. It's
Dorothy Jacks with us. Cam, thank you very much for your time today, my friend. Good luck out there. And you can get the details of the open house. You find them on our Facebook page. That's Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook. And man, if you're streaming with us, you got a nice little sneak peek of that property there. Saw some photos and definitely looks worthy of going by and checking out, meeting Cameron and seeing if that might be your future place you call home. That looks nice. Yes, Jimmy D.
I'll tell you what, I was going to say, if you gave me the option between a new roof or new carpet, I'm taking the new roof all day long.
Absolutely, all day long. And it's funny that you're talking about that, Mike, because one of the topics we're going to get to at the end of the show is, this is the title I came up with. My carpeting is disgusting, but I need to sell my house. Because I've had so many people dealing with carpet issues lately. I don't know why, but carpet issues turn into a big thing. And the big question is, should I replace the carpeting? Because if I do, then what happens if I replace it and they want laminate or they want tile or, we don't pick the right color. But if you leave the carpeting, everybody goes, ugh, this is disgusting. So what do you do? So we're going to talk about that a little later. But before we get to that, I wanted just to talk about our newest listing. Daryl and Amy have hired us. We're selling a really nice Royal Palm Beach home. It's in Madison Green neighborhood, Mike. You know that area really well. So it's a really great neighborhood.
And I think I know Daryl and Amy.
You do know Darren and Amy because you helped finance the home when they bought this home originally, and they've decided that it's time for them to do their dream, which is to move to South Carolina. So I'm really excited about that for them, and I'm hoping, I'm excited about trying to create the next chapter of their life. Really great family. We met Daryl and Amy in 2013, Mike. And they were in big trouble with their house back then. And the law office of Paula Krasker and short sale. No, we didn't use short sale issues. The law office of Paula Krasker worked out a loan mod to save the house for them back then, way back in the day. About 7 years later, they were able to continue to live in the house under the loan mod, and then were able to get out of the loan mod and had enough equity in the house to sell the house so they could buy a new one, which is the house they're living in right now. And they were upsizing. And now it's time for them to move to South Carolina. So we're helping them do that. So this is awesome because they've been with us for 8 years or 9 years now, coming back again and again to help them out with the real estate situation. And that's what the Florida Talk Real Estate show is all about, because they use so many of the services already on this team. They've used the mortgage company. They've used Ross, Brightway Insurance, right? They've used Trident Title in the past. They've used the law office of Paula Krasker. They use the Florida Home Pros with Keller Williams. And they keep coming back because we give them excellent customer service and they know that we care about their situation. Now, the house that they're selling is 1526 Running Oak Lane. We're going to be doing an open house on that next week. It's in Madison Green. The house in the Pinehurst division. It's a nice spacious house. It's 5-bedroom, 2.5 bath. Very large lot. They put in a large vinyl fence recently in the large backyard. What I love about this house is that it has a separate living room with a really nice large dining room, and then the family room off the kitchen. When you're, when you have a family, or if you have a multi-generational situation going on or anything, that setup is the base. That way, some people could be in the living room while other people are in the family room. It's also great for entertaining. The house is in very, very good condition, and it's one of the largest in the neighborhood, and it's on the lower price range of this neighborhood also, even though it's one of the largest houses. So we're going to be doing an open house next week, but if you want to see it this week, just give us a call or have your agent check it out. 1526 Running Oak Lane. Johnny?
Yeah, absolutely. 877-927-6969. Opportunity to join the program. Of course, always remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is your.com. One-stop real estate shop. Know it, use it, love it, share it. You never know who you can absolutely be helping out if you put them with FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. And remember, Facebook and YouTube as well. Not only live streaming every Saturday, but there's a lot of information to be had there at both spots. That's Facebook and YouTube, Florida Talk Real Estate on both. And a lot of these listings we talk about, boom, you have instant access right there. Florida Talk Real Estate on Facebook.
Thank you, Johnny. Last night about 12 o'clock while I was doing show prep for the show, something came across my screen. It was a message or a post or something from Alex, whoever that is. Thank you, Alex. He sent a message. He says, "I just watched a whole boatload of your videos. I can't get enough. We need 2 Jim DePaulas in the world." I don't even know this guy, so it was really nice that he did that. Thank you so much for the compliment. Come check out our stuff. We're going to be doing more and more videos as time goes on. So please check us out. We are the #1 information provider of all things real estate in Palm Beach County. We don't spin things. We're here to tell you what's going on in the market, give you the best advice of what's happening right now. And we're going to get into the market in a little bit, but I want to talk to Dorothy. I'm so excited. We got all that stuff out of the way so we could talk to Dorothy Jacks, the Palm Beach County property appraiser. So the first thing I want to ask you, Dorothy, if you could just describe the duties, your elected duties, because you're an elected official for the county, right? So,
yes.
So there are official duties, state obligations that you have as a property appraiser. So what is that stuff?
So there's 3 things. There's a property appraiser in every county in Florida. We're all governed by the same law, most of it in the Florida statutes and also in the Florida Constitution, interestingly. So we all do the same thing. And what it is we value all property for tax purposes. So we are not private fee appraisers. We are doing it for the purpose of, government tax levies. We administer exemptions. So probably the most well-known one is the homestead exemption, but there's numerous other property tax exemptions that are available in Florida to all kinds of different types of people and also property. And then we also administer the county base map. Now that can differ from county to county, but in Palm Beach County, our role in the office is to create, if you will, the parcels that then are used across the county for all kinds of different purposes. So what that means is if you think about a plat, when a developer develops a plat from one big piece of property to say 200 single units, we lay in those units on our map. Now it's all done computerized mapping. In the old days, it would have been actually drawn on a kind of special paper, but now it's done on the computer. And once the map is created and very accurately created, we start attaching property ownership to the parcels so that you create basically a record of that parcel, which is both spatial in that you can see it, but also a data-driven record that has who owns it, how big is it, what's going on with it, when was it created. And then as things happen, like a house is built on it, we of course add that to the record. But in addition to us using that very intensively in our office, it's also used by people like E911 to find you when they're coming to your house. It's used by the flood control folks when they are figuring out their flood zones. It's used by planning, building, and zoning when they're setting up zoning layers. So there's a lot of, we call it layering, that happens on top of that base map. So we have the responsibility to create the base map, which we feel it's very important that we create it accurately because all those other agencies are using it as well.
I have a question. As I was going through, when I was going through research for the show today, some of the things that pop in my head, because I'm kind of wonky, was, do you have any idea how many parcels there are in Palm Beach County right now, and like how many residential versus commercial?
So there is, and I'll just give you average numbers, but there's about 650,000 parcels. So a parcel is anything that can be taxed, meaning a parcel could be an entire strip mall, or it could be a condominium unit in Century Village. So it's anything that can be individually taxed. That's important to know. But there's about 650,000 parcels. About 500,000 of them are residential. So that includes both, obviously, single family residential, townhomes, zero lot lines, and condominiums. So all of that would be bulked in under residential. We have a lot of condominiums. We have, I think, probably around 300,000 condominiums. So, but the commercial, people talk a lot about commercial, but it isn't really our bread and butter. In most counties, residential is the bread and butter of the county.
Yes, as far as tax revenue.
Yes,
that's correct.
Yes.
Right, that makes sense. And then the other question I have related to that is, I read something that it's a state requirement that every property has to be physically inspected every 5 years. Is that true? Did I read that correctly? Because I was thinking that's almost logistically impossible.
Well, we don't have to. It used to be every property had to be inspected physically every 5 years. And when we say physically, it was not an intensive, get out, walk around the car. It was more, let's check if anything has changed about the property. But now we do a lot of that using technology. So we do aerial imagery year over year, looking for differences in a house's footprint. And that way we're able to find people who may have added on a room. Now, the other way, of course, that we more legitimately find that, which is much more common, is permits. We get permit data from the cities and the county daily, nightly, every night. They upload all of their permits to a system we've created, and we get 50,000 permits a year. I mean, it's a lot of data. We don't look at every one of those permits. Sometimes people think, well, are you looking at every? No, we're looking for people who are adding square footage, people who are doing major renovation, replacing roofs, putting in whole new kitchens, things like that, just seeing if they're upgrading their home, because that can affect their value. But the most important thing we're looking for is them adding square footage. But again, we don't have to visit in person, like a person to the property every year. We have to review spatially, do this data layering to look for abnormalities in what was there before compared to the record. Once every 5 years, every property once every 5 years.
We have Dorothy Jacks joining us today, Palm Beach County property appraiser, joining not only you and the rest of the crew, Mike Rauch, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm, Ross Komarinetz with Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach, and of course, Jimmy D, that's Jim Paola with the Florida Home Pros team, Keller Williams Innovations.
Thanks so much. Dorothy, how do you, so you talked a little bit about the upgrades and things in houses that you might look at to assess value, but how do you go about doing that on a day-to-day basis? Like for the 500, let's focus mostly on residential for this second, right? Because while we just sold a diner up in Fort Pierce and we've done some other commercial deals, most of the stuff we do is residential, and that's where most of the questions have. So one of the things I found surprising that you just said is that actually, if somebody does upgrade their kitchen, let's just say, and then they pull permits for it and it's reflected, that might actually be recognized. And what I'm wondering is when you're looking at an individual house, right, one person, and you're looking at the assessed value versus market value, how do you determine that, like in a whole, that house, and let's say it's in a gated community or not a gated community, or a planned development or not a planned development? How does all that play into determined value?
Mm-hmm. Well, with residential property, and just to start at the very highest level, and I'll work down to your other questions. With residential property, we are primarily using a market approach to a sales comparison approach to arrive at value. So what we're doing is, if you're in a gated community, let's say, and you have 200 homes that are all similar size, similar age, that sort of thing, we are going to look at last year, how many of those homes sold? Well, maybe last year 20 of them sold, let's say. We're going to look at those 20 sales and we're going to say, what did those 20 sales tell us about this neighborhood? Does it tell us that the prices are appreciating, are going down, or are staying about the same? If they are appreciating, how much value can we say based on those 20 sales that really now we should break the properties down by square foot to how much that indicates they should be valued per square foot? So we can and do take factor in location. We factor in, if you happen to be on the lake as opposed to on the entryway, things like that may affect value, and we will look at that in those sales. We'll see how those sales sort of tell us about that value. And then we will raise or lower or leave the same the entire neighborhood. We don't do it one at a time. Now, where we do that is in the market value. So market is the first number, and many of your listeners and viewers will have used our website. And on our website, the first thing you see on each property is its market value. The next value you see below that is assessed. Now, assessed is actually a number generated by whether you have a cap or not. Caps are tied to homestead exemption or non-homestead exemption. If you have a homestead exemption, your market value may change every year based on that neighborhood adjustment that we're doing. But your assessed value will only go up to 3% a year, or the CPI change, whichever is less. This year it happens to be a full 3%. Everybody's assessed value went up 3% because of homestead. So if you're homesteaded. But if you're a snowbird, you don't get that benefit. You don't have a homestead. You would go up to 10%. There is a 10% cap on non-homesteaded property. Now, many years, the 10% cap never plays in because 10% is a big jump. This year, we had more people benefit from the 10 cap than we've had in many years because of the value increases that we saw in 2021. So basically, that's a sort of very quick way to look at it. Now, I mentioned about kitchens and roofs and things like that. So let's say you're in that cookie cutter community and the community is 30 years old, been there a long time. People have started renovating. What we will do with renovations is we look at them and we say, if they did the entire house, because, people will often, they will replace the kitchens, replace the baths, they'll replace the flooring, they'll redo the roof, they'll redo the driveway, all at once. And if that happens, if we see a large change in the house, we will do what's called adjust its effective age. So not its actual age, we would leave that at 30 years old, but we would move its effective age to something newer. And that will affect the market value of the property. It won't affect the cap value. However, if that same person encloses their lanai, let's say they had a screen enclosure and they've now decided to make that into livable square footage, under air as we call it, we would change their value for that because they've actually increased the square footage of the house, and that would adjust both their market and assessed. I know that's a lot to break down, but feel free to ask me anything else about it. It's a lot of info.
No, that's great information. Now, Mike, I know that you had a question, right?
Yeah, I actually had a question. Maybe this is an assumption that I had, that you were just talking about the 3% versus 10% cap, and that's puts a cap on how much one of those values can increase. I always assumed if you did not have a homestead exemption, that your market value and assessed value would be the same number.
Mm-hmm.
And number one, is that correct? And then number two, if you don't have a homestead exemption, are you saying that one of those two values can only ever increase 10% year over year, even without the exemption?
Yes. So the 3% cap has been around a long time, 25 years or so. The 10% cap came in only in 2009, so it's not as well known. So it is on anything that is not homesteaded. So yes, if you were in a house and you're not homesteaded, your value, it's the same concept as the 3% cap. Your assessed value can only go up to 10% a year, but that's every year. So just like the 3 cap, the next year we can collect another 10%, right? So it's a rare year where you have a value increase of 10%. We had a lot this year. So maybe, you know, a lot of snowbirds have never before seen the 10 cap actually affect their property, but it did this year. And also it's important to know that 10 cap exists on all non-homesteaded, so vacant land, commercial property, industrial property, warehouses, everything you can think of, including snowbirds, rental property, apartment complexes, all of it gets that same 10 cap. It's just not as good, if you will, as the 3 cap.
So the 10 cap is, so while you have the same ownership, I'm assuming, on the home, the 10 cap on the assessed value is in play. When you switch ownership, is there ever a moment where the market and assessed value are the same number?
Yes, every time. Both of these caps are tied to the owner who is in there at the moment. So when that owner sells, then all bets are off. The cap goes away and the assessed and the market meet each other, and the new buyer starts again. So their new base value is the market value. So that's why we keep that market value always for everybody to see, and why it's so important that if you're shopping for a home, that you're using our tax calculator to figure out what your taxes will be, because they will not be what the seller's taxes were, especially now, because everybody's getting benefit of a cap now because of the values going up so much this year. So regardless of the cap, it goes away as soon as it sells. And that's also important, that if you are, we get a lot of people caught up with this, they own a piece of investment property and they own it in their names, and then they decide to change it into an LLC. Even if they are the sole owners of the LLC, the law requires us to remove the cap because there has been a change in ownership, even though it's the same people. Wow. So you have to be very careful about that. Just, you know, we always recommend you give us a call if you're going to do something, to ask us, okay, how is it going to impact my taxes, so we can go over it. The only exception to that rule is if you put your home into a trust that is to your benefit. So you see a lot of people do that for estate planning purposes. They'll go from being, you know, the Dorothy Jacks ownership to the Dorothy Jacks trust, with Dorothy being the beneficiary of the trust. In that case, you don't lose your homestead and your cap. But if you went from Dorothy Jacks to, I don't know, Joan Jacks, her daughter, cap comes off. Okay, you cannot give your property even to someone else and continue your homestead on it.
Ross, did you have a question?
Yes. Hi, Dorothy. I'm Ross, who in the insurance world. One thing that you mentioned is you are getting a ton of permit information. It would be so awesome if you could attach it to like the year of the roof to the property record, or just, plumbing updates, things like that. Because,
Mhm.
a lot of times when we're running quotes and we don't know the age of the roof a lot of the time, so we're just kind of putting the best age that's going to return the most quotes. But if we were, somehow able to have that permit information, it would be so convenient.
That's interesting. Yeah. The thing is everything you see on Papa is there because it's something that we use to value or administer exemptions. We are not really, honestly, that interested in how old the roof is. I know you are in your business, but for us,
as soon as we get, hey, here's the address, the first thing we do is go to Papa.
yeah, and we hear that a lot, and we're we love it. We appreciate that the site is so useful, but I always try to tell people, it is all it is a display of the data that's important to us as appraisers, right? As the people doing valuation for tax purposes. And I hear what you're saying, and it's not a bad idea. And it is something we can look into now that we're getting the permits in a little more organized process. For years, it was very touch and go with the permits. Some of them were even coming to us up till this year by fax. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but we built a portal. We recently, that was something I really wanted to do, was we built a portal and we kind of we ask, and they do it, the cities to push the permits to us. So they're a little more organized, a little more easy to follow. And the data elements they give us are a little more organized too. So it would be something we could probably, I'll have to talk to my people about whether we could do that. We hate to do things because that we're sort of on top of what we're doing. But if we're collecting the data, we can push it out there too. So
That's Dorothy Jacks talking right now, the property appraiser for Palm Beach County. Jimmy D, I know you got a question for Dorothy.
Yes, thank you, Johnny. Dorothy, getting back to the calculator, right? Because that's a very important thing. And me and Mike always tell our customers as we're going through the process to make sure they type in the address of the property they're thinking of buying. We tell them to put in whatever price that we're going to do. And then that will give you an answer of what your projected tax bill, not guaranteed, but projected tax bill or estimated tax bill will be when you buy the house. I feel like that's so important right now, and especially with interest rates climbing, and it's pushing people economically, tighter and tighter when they buy the house. There's so many. I actually had 3 calls in the last year where people called me up and they were very upset because when they bought their house without us, but when they bought their house, they found out that they bought at the upper limit of what they felt they could afford. Then when they got the new tax bill and it changed their mortgage payment for the escrow payments for the taxes, they couldn't afford the house and wanted to sell the house.
Yeah.
And we don't want that to happen. So it's really important that they go to that tax calculator, correct?
Absolutely. And if there was one thing I could leave your listeners with, it's how important that calculator is. And at the very bottom of the detail page for each property, it says, buyer, take note, these taxes will not be the taxes that you're going to pay, because we're trying so hard to get people to understand that. But the best way to do it is exactly what you said. Open up the tax calculator, put in what you're going to spend, and you will get the highest possible taxes that they're going to be. Now, maybe your taxes will be a little lower than that, which is great, but at least you have a kind of worst case scenario you're dealing with. The other thing I would recommend to you too, to your listeners, is once you've done that and you've closed, think about calling your mortgage company and saying, listen, I know that these taxes that the old owner were paying is not going to be my taxes. So could you please go in and adjust my escrow now? Because we hear it too. These people call and they say, they're collecting last year's catch-up escrow, and now they're collecting the new year's on the higher amount of tax. And it's just ridiculous how much they're having to pay toward their escrow through their mortgage company. So we recommend, call your mortgage company and say, look, I plan on applying for Homestead. That's going to help my taxes go down. And I know that my taxes are going to be a lot higher than the sellers. So can you take more out now so that I'm not stuck with this really high bill 1 year in.
I know that Mike could help a customer with that too, telling them how much extra maybe they want to contribute. And the other thing is that the tax bill, I didn't understand that when you put in the tax calculator. So this is a great tip, that it doesn't include any exemptions you might be qualified for. So that's why you're saying that's probably the worst case scenario. Then you back out your exemptions, right?
Yeah, and the tax calculator lets you do that. As soon as it tells you, okay, this is your new taxes are going to be $10,000. The next thing it says immediately, it says, are you going to apply? Are you qualified for homestead exemption? Because of course, maybe you're a snowbird and you're not. But are you qualified for homestead exemption? Yes, no. And when you click yes, it then will tell you, okay, this is how much that is going to save you. You know, it even asks you about portability, which we should talk about. The concept that you're able to move a benefit from an old homesteaded property to a new homesteaded property. It even asks you to calculate that in. So there's a lot of good steps in it, which is another good reason to do the calculator.
Yes, absolutely. So that's a really, really great tip for people listening right now. If you're thinking about buying a property, please go to the property appraiser. If you're in Palm Beach County, it's I forget what it's called. What is the website? I forgot what it is.
It's PAPA, which stands for Property Appraiser Public Access. But you can just Google Palm Beach County Property Appraiser; it'll come right up.
Yes,
and you know, and every county has a great website like that. Martin County has a good one. All the counties do, and I'm pretty sure all of them have a calculator as well. So not just in Palm Beach, but everywhere.
Not all of them are great.
Yeah, there is a big variance. There's a very big variance on the different websites for everything. I just have a couple of factoids I need to ask you. Okay.
Wait, I have a whole lot of questions on the
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, let's stay with this.
Just because it's in what Dorothy was just talking about, which is like predicting what the taxes will be. And Jim said it, like we're in this so much. We recognize when there's a tax bill that we would consider on the low end because of an existing homestead exemption and, you know, how long the owners have had it. And we try to prepare customers. We're like, listen, you can get in. This helps us get in the door, right? This helps us get qualified, but you need to prepare from a budget perspective that your bill is going to go up pretty substantially and you're going to have a shortfall, everything that you just mentioned. So really important. My question is about when you have a sale in the middle of the year, right? We know the taxes, the trim notices come out in November. That's for the tax year of that year, right? So January to December of 2022, those bills are just about to come out. So when there's a sale, say in June of that year, does that automatically reset the tax bill? And if an owner does have homestead exemption with portability on their prior sale, they sold their home, let's just say it was simultaneous, they sold and bought. Is there any way that portability or the homestead exemption applies in that November's bill, or you have to live there in January? So it's going to reset for that year. So it's going to jump up. I think I see you nodding your head. So it's going to jump up no matter what. And then your exemption with portability doesn't hit till the next year. Okay.
Right. Okay. Those are both. It's not going to jump up for the current year. How it works is everything is based on what was the status of the property on January 1st. So if the prior owner of the property had a really good homestead savings, that is going to extend for the entire year. So even though I buy that house in June, I'm going to benefit from that owner, the guy who had it on January 1st, my seller's homestead and cap for the entire year. So come November, the bill will come out, and you're correct. It's for January through December of the year you're in, that November bill. And it is going to be based on my seller's homestead and cap as of January 1st. So I get that benefit. So I'm only paying 6 months of, you know, I'm escrow. I've got my prorated amount for those 6 months, and it's going to be with his benefit. Now, next January 1st, 23, I become eligible for homestead on that property, and that's when the cap resets. So he goes away, all bets are off, we're done with him, and it's going to jump up to market, and then I'm going to apply for homestead. Now, if I left another property in June of this year, that property had a homestead on it that was mine, that I'd had for a number of years myself. I may have a portability benefit from that old home that was in 22 that I can now bring into 23. Okay, I can't bring it in before that, but I am getting the benefit of the old owners benefits through 22. But now in 23, when I file for homestead, which, again, filing for homestead is pretty straightforward. You can either come in, or these days, the easiest way to do it is to file online. And we walk you through, where did you live last year? Was it in Florida? Did you have a homestead there? And we're going to go find out from either ourselves, obviously, or from another county what your portability benefit was. But the first year you're going to get benefit from the portability is when you file for homestead exemption. You can't get it before, or you can get it later, but you wouldn't want to. The year you file for homestead, when you make that application, we are going to automatically take a portability application from you if you're coming to us from anywhere in Florida. And then we're going to go find out if you have a benefit.
That's really great news. I think there was some mystery around whether it would always just reset that November no matter what. So I like that you basically, the January 1st is when it's assessed, whatever the disposition was. I have a question on that. I don't know if Jim's going to allow me, but
no, go ahead, because we're having a technical.
You'd mentioned county to county, and so I was actually talking with somebody who's relocating from Palm Beach to Broward County, and he was wondering if, does his portability go from county to county? And it sounds like the answer is yes, it does.
Yes, portability is really nice. It moves county to anywhere in Florida. Basically, if you're coming from anywhere in Florida, if you're going anywhere in Florida and you're buying another home and you're homesteaded, you can bring your benefit with you. There's a bunch of rules around portability. It's really important that if you have listeners who are going to fall in any of these categories, that they call us to go over them with us. But basically, you have up to 2 years to use the portability. And by that, I mean, some people sell a house and then they go rent for a while, or they go live with their mom, or they go do something else. You lose it if you don't buy another homestead within 2 years. That's very important. So if you're thinking about taking a hiatus from owning, you should give us a call to just go over your timeline, like when you're planning, and we'll be able to tell you, you must own another property if you must own another property by X date in order to use your benefit. The other is it's only up.
I'm sorry, is that 2 tax years or like 2 calendar years from the date you sold?
2 tax years. So it's two cycles, if you will, 2 January 1st. So if I sell now, today, and what are we in, October of 22, I have 23, 24. I must own by December 31st, 24 in order to bring my port from 22 into 25, actually, but it's 2 years. There's a limit on how much you can move. It's up to $500,000. You can't port more than that. If you downsize, go from a more expensive home to a less expensive home, you don't get your entire benefit. You get a percentage prorated amount of your benefit based on the value of the 2 homes.
And the portability number, just generally without the nuance, is the difference between the market value and the assessed value. That's what's portable home to home. Okay.
Exactly. And also what happens is on the new home, immediately it looks like you have a cap. It takes it off of the market value. It's as if you have a cap on that home already, even though you're the first year of your homestead.
I got a question for you, Jim. Listening to what Dorothy Jacks is explaining to Mike Rauch here in that question, can you, when you're doing a search for somebody, if you have a non-homestead, like an out-of-state buyer, can you put a search criteria that you're looking for homesteaded properties? Is that possible?
I don't know if there's a search criteria on MLS for homestead, because when you find out if the house is homesteaded or not, you have to go to this other link on MLS called IMAP. Do you know about IMAP, Dorothy? Is that kind of like a realtor thing? No. Yeah, so it isn't really the property appraiser. It's like they combine, IMAP combines the website information from the property appraiser and the tax collector and even the flood zone information, and they put it all in one spot. Ross, do you and Mike know more about that, the IMAP thing? Have you know what I'm talking about? No, you guys don't have that. Must be a realtor thing. So
I wonder if you could search like for taxes below a certain threshold. Can you say like taxes below 5,000 or something?
Well, the problem I have with doing a search, Johnny, where you put in homesteaded or not homesteaded, even if it's a criteria, I wouldn't rely on that, because a lot of realtors don't put in the information incorrectly. So you might, if you're looking for a non-homesteaded property, let's just say, you might miss over some that weren't marked correctly. And that happens a lot. So one of the things you learn as a realtor is you cast the wider net. And if you get a couple extra properties, you just throw them out. That's the best way to do that.
Gotcha. Yeah, because as I'm listening to Dorothy explain, I'm like, man, so for an out-of-state buyer, like you're trying to close on January 2nd to take that full advantage for taxes for the next year, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I don't know what that amounts to, but I'm guessing, probably a couple $1,000 or maybe at least $1,000. Like I'm not quite sure how to wrap my head around the savings in that tax year for them, but
it could be a tremendous amount of money. When I sit down with my buyers, and Dorothy, since you're here, you could tell me if I'm exaggerating when I say this to people, right? I say, like, especially first-time home buyers, when I'm teaching them, like, understanding the math behind what they're trying to do. So I say, look, imagine that you're in a gated community and the house was bought, I'm making it up, 19 or 2000, because we're in 2022, and the house was bought in 2000, and it's a model home and it has all these features in it. And on the same street, down the street, it's the same exact model, and that family bought the house with the same exact features from the developer on the same street, and they bought it the same day. And now it's 22 years later, and they're both on the market. And they're both on the market, I'm just making it up a number, $500,000. But one of the tax bills could be like $2,800 a year, and the other one could be $6,000, right? And I say, now how does that work? And I look to the buyers and I say, how does that work, right? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But I say, the first home with the $2,800 bill, they probably never sold the home, and they've been living there ever since, and they've been living there for 22 years. And the other house, that house might have been bought and sold 3 or 4 times, or sold during a period where the appreciation was very high, right? And then locked it at a higher rate. And it was probably sold a couple of times, and it got the ability for the government to reset the value of the house at the full value. Am I wrong about that when I explain that? And can it be that big of a difference in the taxes?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I mean, I lived in a neighborhood where one of my neighbors had bought in 1979, and she was paying $1,200 in taxes. And the person who she sold her house to came over and asked me, can you tell me what my taxes are going to be? I was like, of course. So I went to work and I looked it up on the calculator. Their taxes when they bought it were $11,000 a year. So, I mean, it's wow. It's not a good system unless you're in the system, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the one holding the homestead with the lower taxes, great. But for everybody else, it's pretty tough.
Everybody's got to start somewhere, though.
True. Absolutely.
You got to start.
And it's all relative, right?
Yeah.
It's all relative. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And my other question I have is, when people come to me and they say, I know what my house is worth because they looked at, a lot of times they'll say Zillow or Trillia or Realtor.com, that kind of thing. And, realtors always roll their eyes. But sometimes people say to us about, I know what my house is worth because I looked at my property appraiser or tax collector site, right? And they'll see the market value. And then they say that's what the market value is. But as a realtor, what I always do to really do a very fast comp of what the property is probably really worth, assuming the condition isn't too bad or too good, but it was average condition, I usually times whatever the market value that's set in the property appraiser site. And this is every county, not just our county. But I usually times it by 1.35 or 1.4. So I usually add 35 to 40%. And that seems to be much closer what you could actually sell your house for on the open market. And I was wondering, I'm not complaining because the bills are lower, right? So I'm not complaining this is a bad thing, but I'm just wondering why there seems to be a big difference or gap usually between the market value and what you sell it on the open market for.
Sure. Yeah. Well, a couple things are going on. One is timing. So we are required to value it as of January 1st. So you could be right now and you could look at the market value and it's 10 months later and it's 10 busy months later, right? First of all, we have a timing problem in that we are required to look at last year's sales to set this year's value. So that's one thing. Second thing that is there is that we are also allowed to, and we do, do what we call a reduction for cost of sale. So every sale that we work with, we're going to probably bring it down by 15%, 10 to 15% right off the top in order to use that sale as part of our pool of sales. What that does is it allows us to take out things like, well, realtor fees is a good example, and any other cost of closing, and kind of bring everything to a level playing field. Because if you think about it, a lot of sales, you know, it's just like any other group of statistics. You're going to throw out the highest, you're going to throw out the lowest, and then you're going to kind of take that group and look at them and say, okay, what does this group tell me? And then go from there, right? So there's a lot going on. We are not fee appraisers. We're not taking 3 comps and saying, okay, what does that say about the market? Right, this is the number on that house. We've got the problem of the timing, and then we are automatically deducting 15% from pretty much everything before we start to set the value. And then we're looking at averages. We're not looking at trying to pin the value. I mean, it's funny because exactly what you just said, I'm a big fan, and I say it all the time. The best person to ask when you're trying to find out what your house is worth is a realtor. I mean, you are much closer to the market than we are, directly close to the market. I mean, again, 650,000 parcels we're trying to value annually. We just don't have the staff. I mean, we have 230 staff. It's a good sized staff, but certainly even if you do the calculations, then we don't have the people power to come in precisely at what a value would be.
I have one more. I want to knock out this question. We will take the 10 o'clock break, Johnny and Jimothy. Okay, sure. We'll take the 10 o'clock break. But I have one more question about the sales, the recent sale activity on the Palm Beach County property appraisers. It just never seems to match up even kind of closely to what we get on the MLS. And I think part of it is when somebody closes a deal on the MLS, usually it's the next day or the day after. They just have to click a little button and it says, closed. But that isn't the way it's reflected in the county government records. So when people go to look at the comparative sales in the neighborhood, how do you determine what would be considered a comparative sale for that particular property? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like based on the computer algorithm that you're using, like how do you guys, like what is the criteria on that?
I mean, I guess it goes back to the first thing we talked about, which is really that we are going to look, we have bulked every property into what we call a neighborhood. And even if it is not a nice, seamless 200 unit neighborhood with that they're all cookie cutter, if you're living in a, traditional old Florida neighborhood where all the houses are different, we're still looking at what are the sales within that neighborhood. And it can sometimes be a lot bigger neighborhood than you think. Mm-hmm. Just similar homes are put together and we create what we call a neighborhood from that. And when I say similar homes, usually similar age, similar location. So for instance, we wouldn't put a house that was in the village of North Palm Beach in the same neighborhood as a house in Royal Palm Beach. We're going to say, okay, let's look at North Palm Beach. Now, within North Palm Beach, there's lots of different sizes. So that's why we break down to square footage. We also separate land from building because, of course, land is where all of the location factor is going to be managed. And then building is much more, subjective because it can be old, it can be new, it can be remodeled, it can be big, small, all of that. But the land, both location and size and probably things like water or golf course, that kind of thing, are all really attributes of the land, not the house. So we'll separate those and we'll look at them independently and then add them back together. So there's a lot happening when you come to create value, but in a mass approach where we're using a computer system to help us sort of statistically analyze the data, that's sort of where it's not quite as exacting as 3 comps equals what the value of this house is.
Yes, exactly. Johnny, do you mind if we go ahead and take the break right now? Dorothy, would you mind staying on for the rest of the hour? Do you have time for us?
Yeah, I probably need to get off about 10:30 if that's okay.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Okay.
I want to get into a little bit of the market when we get back at the top of the hour. We're going to get a little bit of the market with Mike. And then if anybody has any other questions, Ross, did you have any other questions for Dorothy that popped into your head? Because we had it was such great information, man. I just ate it up with a spoon. It was great. What about you, Ross? Do you have anything going on about that?
I mean, for us, the only question I have is for a consumer, how would they, a lot of the times, maybe the construction frame versus masonry isn't correct, or is it pretty simple for somebody to get that updated?
Oh,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, we're going to talk about that on the break, because that reminds me of another question related to that, Ross. So after the break, we're going to get to that with Dorothy Jacks from the Palm Beach County Property Appraiser's office.
Excellent. Nice to have her with us. Thank you for a little bit of bonus time. Fantastic of you. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us, whether you're on the radio or maybe you're streaming with us, Facebook, YouTube, Florida Talk Real Estate on both. Of course, with your free download, your iHeartRadio app. It's great to have you with us. We promise 2 hours of infotainment every Saturday. And if you're doing the math, well, we got about an hour remaining. It's a 4-minute break. We do a quick reset. We get back. Ross Komarinetz with Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach, Mike Rauch, the mortgage guy from the Mortgage Forum. Of course, Jimmy D, Jim Paola with the Florida Home Pros team, Keller Williams Innovations, and bonus time with Dorothy Jacks, the Palm Beach County Property Appraiser. Great to have you with us. Always remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is your one-stop real estate shop. It's FloridaTalkRealEstate.com. Access to the entire team. Pros, you got them all at FloridaTalkRealEstate.com, your one-stop real estate shop. Back 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes from now. Great to have you with us every Saturday right here on Real Radio.
Letting you know what girls talk about when the boys are not around. It's Pillow Talk with Franny and Megan. Friday nights at 7 on Real Radio 92.1 and always available online at realradio921.com/Pillow Talk.
From the Gordon and Partners Weather Center. Have you or a loved one been injured through no fault of your own? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm CBS 12 meteorologist Jennifer Collins. Showers and thunderstorms are possible for today. Otherwise, a mix of sun and clouds with afternoon highs in the middle 80s, with temperatures mild for tonight in the lower 70s and partly cloudy. Drier weather for the end of the weekend under mostly sunny skies Sunday with afternoon highs in the middle to upper 80s.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's. Try Wendy's new Homestyle French Toast Sticks today. Wendy's new Homestyle French Toast Sticks are so good, some are saying they're better than their mom's French toast. Perfectly crispy on the outside, perfectly fluffy on the inside, perfectly perfect in every way. Try Wendy's new Homestyle French Toast Sticks today and see if they're better than your mom's.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim Paola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rauch from the Mortgage Firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rauch will get you the answers you need. The Mortgage Firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, go to the mortgage guy, Mike Rauch, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full-service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Komarinetz, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
The Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios.
Have you been in an accident? Call Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys at 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
Real Radio 92.1 is WZZR West Palm Beach, an iHeartRadio station.
Download the free iHeartRadio app for all your music, radio, and podcasts. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim DePola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
That's that toll-free number. In fact, it'll be good for the remainder of this hour and then the following hours with the locker room. Greek and Joe will join Jimothy, give you some sports talk with an edge. That's a toll-free number for your local real radio, 877-927-6969. Don't be shy. If you got questions, comments, concerns, you want to jump into the conversation, dial that up. You make that call, we'll take that call. Jimothy will line you up, 877-927-6969. Of course, if you're not comfortable on air, I totally understand. I am not either. That's why I want you to know about floridatalkrealestate.com, your one-stop real estate shop, your access to the entire team. Pros, you find them all at floridatalkrealestate.com. Thanks for being with us. 92.1, 101.7 on the radio. Of course, if you have your free download, your iHeartRadio app, thank you for tuning in, making us worldwide. And we are trying to live stream on Facebook, maybe, definitely on YouTube. Florida Talk Real Estate on both. You can find us, stream it, share it, know it, love it, and thank you for being a part of every Saturday. Johnny C., that's me. Mike Rao, the mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. He's with us. Hello, Michael.
Hi, Johnny.
Nice to see you as always. Ross Komarinetz is here too with Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach. Hello, Ross.
Juno, that's right. Good morning. Good morning.
Oh, man. Jimmy D, Jim DePola with the Florida Home Pros team, Keller Williams Innovations. How are you, Jimmy D?
Happy South Florida, everybody.
I'm so glad you squeezed it in. And special thanks for Dorothy Jacks giving us a little bonus time. She spent the first full hour with us. Of course, that's Palm Beach County's property appraiser, and giving us a little bonus time on this Saturday. Awesome to have you with us, Dorothy. Thanks for squeezing us into your Saturday.
Thanks, Johnny. Great to be here.
Awesome. So I know we got a few little straggling questions, and as we were kind of getting there, Jim was like, oh, that's right. I wanted to ask that too and that too. Let's dive in because the clock is ticking here, Jimmy D.
Absolutely. Ross, could you start off?
So a lot of the times when, or like I said, first thing we do when we get an address is we go to Papa, look up the year built, the square footage, and the construction type. And a lot of the time, it may say frame, and we'll send a quote with frame, and then we'll get pushback saying, no, my house is concrete block, it's masonry. And I have to tell them, look, I hear what you're saying, but that's the information that's provided. That's what the insurance company underwriters are going to look at, and that's what they're going to base it off. So my question is, how easy is it to get that updated and corrected?
Yeah, what's really easy now, we've actually added a link on the structural detail part of Papa. And it says, is any of this data incorrect? ? Click here, and you can update. What it does is it opens a little window. You put in there who you are. We need to know who you are, some contact information, and then you tell us what's wrong. If it's as simple as changing it from frame to stucco, then we usually just will do it based on your information. If you tell us you're the owner and we may call you and just kind of chat with you about, how do you know this, to make sure we're just not taking somebody off the streets guess. But if it's a little bit more complicated, like the square footage is wrong, we'll send somebody out who will come out and actually remeasure the house so that we can make sure we got our measurement correct. Sometimes that's an issue of interior measurements versus exterior, but certainly anything that's small, like what it's made of, really what it's made of doesn't affect its value. I know we were talking earlier about what's on Papa. Well, all of that's just data collected over the year. I will point out too that the newer the house, chances are the better the data, because some of that legacy data that's left over from houses built in the 80s and the 70s, it's just stuff we had on our system and we've put it on Papa, and it's harder to sort of make sure the stucco frame thing is correct. For us, the most important element is square footage. We want to be sure the square footage is correct, but we're happy to update things like bedroom, bathroom count, all of that based on what you tell us.
If you do change, this is my big question about related to this. If you do change let's say you're going from 3 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms, but not changing the square footage, right? Does it make a difference? Like, because it could
in
make
the value.
in the value,
No.
like it wouldn't. And would you it isn't like everybody's going to say, oh, wait a second, this house is different.
No.
We're going to go back and change the tax rate because we miscalculated. That won't happen.
The only time we might correct or change the value, and we're only usually going to change it moving forward, is if the square footage is off.
Okay, so
and I mean significantly off. Like we missed a second floor, or we missed a garage.
Well,
or,
let's
big change.
Let's say that you had originally 1,200 square feet under living area, right? And then you convert a garage, right? So now there's an extra 300 square feet. That's pretty significant on 1,200 square feet, right? Because that's 25. What is that, Mike? 25%? Am I getting that right? But 25%. So if I called you up, like I was selling my house and it's showing that it's 1,200 square feet, but I put this other, room under air. Now it's, in my mind, it's really a 1,500 square foot home. And I call you up to change it, or I go through the site and change it. Am I going to get like in trouble for that? Do you know what I mean? Like, are you going to go, wait a second, we should have been valuing your house at a much higher value for the time that you made that addition?
No,
or conversion?
we're not going to go backward on anything like that. We will fix it going forward, and it might adjust the market value in a case like that. It might adjust it up some because you have converted square footage from really under air to, not under air to under air.
Right.
And we do value under air higher than we value not under air. Slightly, it's a percentage change.
Right.
We're going to fix it going forward, something like that. Now, you may be in trouble with the permitting people.
Right. Yeah.
But they're not us. We're not going to report you to them. By the way, we're not in. We got a lot to do.
Right.
We're not. But we will make the change moving forward. It would have to be very, very substantial for us to go backward. Like we missed an entire house. Something like that. And I know that sounds crazy, but it has happened. But we catch that on our 5-year cycle. And if we missed an entire house, we might go back, and we are allowed to go back, but we don't go back more than 3 years in a situation like that. So that's all you would be, possibly required to pay.
So I got a question for you, Dorothy. What happens in scenarios, and like what's the process where somebody does improvement, but it's like massively off scale for what the neighborhood is? Like it just really stands out. It doesn't fit at all. How do you work that into the scenario in what you guys are doing with the Palm Beach County Appraiser's office?
Yeah. Well, again, it's probably going to be, we're going to adjust the square footage if they do a massive renovation and add square footage. And then it's still breaking down per square foot, the price. So yeah, it'll adjust their value up, but they're still in the neighborhood they're in. And again, land drives a lot of that value. So yeah, we'll make an adjustment in their value, but I'm always a fan of, it's kind of crazy to overbuild a neighborhood. I mean, I'm sure Jim would say the same thing. You know, you got to be a little careful about things like that. But some people, they love where they live and they want the castle, but they want it in a particular neighborhood. So
I was just thinking of that house. Do you know that house? Do you know that house I'm talking about? It was, it's in the Wellington area, and it made big news when they put it on the market because, you know, it looks like a castle. It was kind of interesting. I don't know if it's sold. It was in a really hot market.
There's a castle up Ross's Way in Juno. Right?
Yeah, there's one in Juno Beach, isn't there? Yeah, I was going to say that. Ross probably knows that one.
Yeah, it sold like 5 years. Within probably 5 years, I think it sold. So you can go online and see it looks like a castle on the inside too.
Does it? Is that the one right off of? Is that the one right off of US 1, Ross? Over by the basketball court?
It's like across from the police station.
Yeah, I know that one. I used to drive by that one all the time. It looks like that on the inside too?
Yeah, it's awesome.
I didn't know that.
But if you look at the overhead view, like it's just a regular house. Like has just a gable shingle roof.
Mm-hmm.
It's really it's an interesting home.
I remember we had the one case, Jim, where there was a home where the property appraiser's square footage was off by something substantial as far as valuing the home. An appraiser, not the property appraiser, but a market appraiser's value of the home. And it was something like 500 square feet, which is pretty significant when you're trying to comp that home to other homes in the neighborhood and get top dollar. And I forget if it was the new owner was like, wait, I don't want you guys to adjust that, right? For tax purposes, I don't want that 500 square feet to show up on the tax bill. So that is interesting. I did have a question for Dorothy on the January 1st thing, as it relates to vacant lot and new construction homes. So if it was a vacant lot on January 1st of that tax year, it doesn't matter when the home was completed. It's going to be that November's bill is based on vacant lot status. And then what if the home was like midway constructed, like they started in November and they've got the foundation poured and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no, there's no partial year assessment. There's no partial assessments in Florida. It has to be completed for us to add it to the roll. So if that house was underway, but it wasn't finished and it didn't finish until March even, the whole of that year would be land only, vacant land only. You have to finish it and be able to own and occupy on January 1st, and then we will do what we call pick it up and add it to the roll for that year. So if you're building a home right now and it's not going to finish till April of 23, for 23 you will pay for vacant land for the whole year.
Really good information.
So with Johnny's information, when he builds, he wants to finish on January 2nd.
Well, don't. Now, I will caution you because people do play that game.
Right.
This isn't our first rodeo with that.
Yeah, they don't want to get the CO. They could get the CO December 1st, but they wait, right? They wait.
Right. We actually had a lawsuit of a guy. It was a Palm Beach property, and they did everything except the landscaping. And we knew it because we were watching it. You know, when properties are that close, we are actually going out and looking at them close to the first of the year. And the guy, I mean, you could turn on the water and you could flush the toilets. All that was missing was that he hadn't put the trees in yet. And he sued us because we put it on. And he said, well, it wasn't finished. I didn't have my final CO. And we were like, nope, you were finished. You could live in that house. It's just it didn't have trees. And we won. We were, and that's, so you can't play that right up to the very edge of the year. That's a little tricky, but
there is some nuance there because Johnny could live in any home without running water. Like, so if that's the benchmark.
Yeah.
Do you, what are some of the things that people might find surprising about your day-to-day interactions with the public? Like, I'm just wondering because, we would normally assume people are complaining that their tax bill is too high or like, why did you assess my value like this and things like that. But are there any things that are like really unusual out there? I mean, we are in Florida.
Well, I think the thing that is probably the hardest for us is people who are moving here from other states. And they don't understand Florida property tax law at all. And all they've heard is that Florida is really cheap, right? They've heard that taxes are really low in Florida, when actually property taxes are not. I mean, compared to a lot of states, our property taxes are pretty significant. There's a good reason for that. I mean, we have no state income tax. That's what they hear about. And because we have no state income tax, local government is getting most of its money from property tax. So a lot of people are surprised at the property tax bills once they get here. And of course, they're also shocked at the insurance rates. I mean, I know Ross could talk about that, but you know, the combination of those two is usually comes as a surprise. And then this whole thing with the cap, you know, they make the mistake we discussed earlier. They look at the prior owner's taxes and they go, oh, $2,000, that's cheap. And then it hits them that it's going to be $10,000, and that's tough. So we do a lot of kind of talking people off the ledge.
Yeah.
who are just, I mean, and it's terrible. We feel badly about it. We try really hard. And I mean, it's one reason I'm here with you is we try really hard to get out in the community and say, you know, these are the rules, and please, you know, call us if you have questions. I mean, that's the other thing I want to just say is we're really good about answering our phones. We don't have one of those press 1, press 2, press 3. You actually, you get a human and someone who can talk to you about all these different questions. And we're happy to talk, you know, all day about property taxes and how they're going to affect you, especially when you're coming from another place.
I've always found your staff, when I call with questions for my customers, I've always found to be very responsive and very friendly. And it's kind of surprising because I just had to deal with the IRS recently and try to deal with the customer service over there. I mean, it's just a logistical nightmare, but it was so refreshing. And not just one time, I've called a bunch of times for a bunch of different questions, and everybody's been very helpful on your staff. So thank you for the good customer service on that.
I can vouch for that too, Jim. I've called and you ask a question and then they'll say, oh, you know what, let me get you over to Janet. You know, like she's going to know your answer. And so I know you said it's a large staff, but it feels like a pretty, you know, a staff that's in touch with the local community. So that's
it's really, really good. Well,
so as I'm sitting here listening, I'm obviously getting a real aggressive education here, listening to, you know, pros, people that are just fantastic at what they do. I do it every Saturday. I get to learn a lot. Having Dorothy here has given me insight into a few things that I just never realized. And I just had a bit of an aha moment too. So, you know, the last couple of years with rents going up, we're just like, oh, these landlords are just evil. Look what they're doing. They're killing people, taking advantage. I realized that their insurances have been going up, but I've never quite connected. So they're not homesteaded on their rental properties. So they could get literal 10% increases on their property taxes year to year. So a lot of these rental increases could be extremely justified from, you know, the numbers, their margins that they're looking for. They could be totally justified in so many ways from a investor perspective. But us on the outside, somebody looking for quote unquote cheap rent, we're going, oh, this is so unfair. But the reality is their margins, Jim, you were an investor, and Dorothy, you can probably speak on it a little bit too. Their margins probably are staying about the same. I mean, in a lot of cases, am I way off?
No, that's true. And I think you're going to see more like Airbnbers and stuff putting their houses back on the market to sell, because they were trying to make money off the Airbnb and it was working well. But between the insurance crunch and the increase in property values over the years, and also the saturation of Airbnbs in their neighborhoods, one of the biggest mistakes when you could do an Airbnb is you move into this area, and then when you search it, you know, somebody has 100 choices in a 5-block area. I'm being exaggerated here. And it's very hard to compete, and you're not getting as much rental as you think. So there's a lot of tricks to that, but there is a lot of pain right now. Now, I think that pain on the tax issues is probably going to slow down. That's what I wanted to wrap up with Dorothy, because I know she's got to leave in just a few minutes, and thank you so much. But, you know, what I want to bring up, one of the things I do as a realtor is I actually look at the increased in the market value or assessed value you do, and you actually put down the percentage difference of increasing or decreasing year over year, if I'm not mistaken, on that chart. And in 2018, when everybody thought the neighborhood values were going up across the area, I noticed a lot of negatives, like negative 1.2%, negative 3% in certain neighborhoods, not across the board. And we always say real estate is block by block, street by street, not even neighborhood by neighborhood or city by city. But I noticed that little variation, and when I see the negatives in there, I should be reading that based compared to what was happening to sales and values a year ago, that we're seeing a little bit of either flattening or a little bit of depreciation from the year before. Is that correct to read that?
Yeah, well, I think what we're going to see, when we get through the next 2 or 3 years, is that 2021 was a real anomaly. I mean, it's just the market was especially on fire last year. What we're seeing this year, and it'll be interesting to see, we talked a little earlier about the hurricane on the West Coast and its impact on the Florida real estate market. But what we're seeing now is a real, very significant decrease in the number of transactions that are happening this year versus last year. I mean, some months it's half of the same time last year, the number of transactions. So there's definitely been an impact of the increase in the interest rates on the overall market. What's interesting to me, though, is that values don't appear, what people are paying may be moderating and flattening, but they're not dropping. They seem to be going through a kind of flat moment. So number of transactions is down, however, prices remain fairly level. And we'll see what happens next. I mean, I thought we would probably see a little bit of a decline in the market toward the third quarter here, but I don't think we're going to now, not with Ian. I think the West Coast properties I think there's going to be a lot more impact on South Florida than because of what's happened in the Southwest.
So you really think that there will be more of a demand to move to this area because of the lack of housing on the West Coast? Is that what you're thinking? And therefore the demand's going to be high with inventory low. And that's going to, so you think it's almost like a reverse bubble? Because I was thinking when Ian hit that we might go through a little mini bubble pop. Not that we were in a bubble beforehand necessarily, but that there was going to be a bubble created because of the insurance problems that we were probably going to be facing, and it was going to really affect over time. But now you're thinking that it's going to be the opposite way, right? Where we might actually get our market might be stronger than normal in these conditions because of that hurricane.
Yeah, I think that the people who were going to go to the West Coast are going to come to the East, or they're still going to want to get away from the weather up north. And even if they're just seasonal people, that's going to create a heavier demand. I thought it was interesting what you said earlier about Jim, you said earlier about Airbnbs, because that's something that I've been wondering about too, is this massive number of Airbnb properties going to start drying up? People, as soon as COVID ended, everybody needed to get out of the house and go somewhere. And that's really what drove the Airbnb market. And that's slowing down somewhat. And maybe people will go back to hotels. And so that may change things in the dynamic of what's for sale. Like you said, Airbnbers, owners giving up their property and putting them back on the market, which would be good.
Yeah, it would be very helpful. I don't think we're going to see a flood of that happening, but any increase can really make a difference right now because our inventory is still very low. We're still half of what a normal market is as far as inventory. That's very interesting about you think that we're just going to flatten out and slow down growth or flattening the growth or appreciation, because I just don't feel that. The way I feel, I could be wrong, but I feel like we are in that flattening phase right now, but it isn't going to stop there. It's going to keep going down. I don't think we're going to go through a crash, but I feel like we're going to lose pretty much 2021's appreciation, because I always say that's fluff, right? So we might lose, somewhere between 5 and 15% of values, I think. And I'm already kind of seeing that in the houses that are on the market. That So-So neighborhood in West Palm, everybody calls it So-So. You know what I saw when in May, there were 12 houses on the market in that area and single family homes, and there were 19 pending. Today, there's over 70 houses on the market and 6 pending. Okay. And I can't see prices not dropping when you have that situation. Now, some of the realtors say what's going to happen is a lot of those people are going to be canceled and expired, because they're throwing their houses on the market just to see if they can get their crazy number that isn't reflective today. And if they don't get it, they'll just disappear, but they won't sell. I'm not sure of that. So we'll see how that goes. It's very interesting, your perspective, though. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And you'll have to have me back next year and we can talk and see what actually happened.
Yes, I would love that. And I'd like to have you back on again just to talk about all the exemptions.
Yeah.
I would really like to go all the different exemptions and really explain that to people. There are a lot of exemptions that are a little surprising that people probably don't even know that they can get. So I'd love to have you back on again, Dorothy. Thank you so much.
Sure, absolutely. I really enjoyed being with you guys. It was a lot of fun chatting about this. It's, as you can tell, I have a real passion for it. So happy to talk about it anytime.
Well, we were really lucky to have you on this Saturday, and thank you for the bonus time as well. I know we kind of put you on the spot live, like, hey, you want to stick with us? Usually the answer is, yeah, sure, I can do that. So thank you. Under pressure, you gave us some bonus time. We appreciate you very much, and look forward to the next time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Dorothy Jacks, Palm Beach County Property Appraiser. It was great having you with us.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody. Great to be with
weekend.
you.
Stay
We still got about 30 minutes remaining for you. We'll do a quick little reset, get back on our feet here. And remember, Florida Talk Real Estate is at .com, your one-stop real estate shop. Access to the entire team. Remember it, know it, use it, love it, and share it. It's floridatalkrealestate.com. We'll get right back. Quick reset and put a bow on a Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate right here on Real Radio.
Got something to say?
I got something to say.
Text us at 47142. Start your message with Real Radio. Standard data and message rates apply, and don't text while driving.
From the Gordon and Partners Weather Center. Have you or a loved one been injured through no fault of your own? Call 561-333-3333 or go to fortheinjured.com.
I'm CBS 12 meteorologist Jennifer Collins. Showers and thunderstorms are possible for today. Otherwise, a mix of sun and clouds with afternoon highs in the middle 80s. The temperatures mild for tonight in the lower 70s and partly cloudy. Drier weather for the end of the weekend under mostly sunny skies Sunday with afternoon highs in the middle to upper 80s.
This report is sponsored by Chucky.
A new season is here, and with it, major delays being reported due to another killer doll with a shady plan. Just how many Chuckies are there? Chucky is here to chuck stuff up, including our freeways. Chucky Season 2, Wednesdays, 9/8 Central, only on USA and Sci-Fi.
Hey, it's your boy Johnny C here, host of Florida Talk Real Estate. They're tops when it comes to helping people buy and sell houses. But Florida Talk Real Estate is so much more than that. For 5 years, I've watched these guys help thousands of our listeners with any real estate need. They couldn't do it without their sponsors, who are experts in their fields. Check it out. Jim DePola, powered by Keller Williams Realty. Their team specializes in helping people sell their house for top dollar, and buyers get great deals on the purchase of their home. That's what they did for me and my family, and I couldn't be happier that I hired them for my real estate transaction. Mike Rauch from the mortgage firm is one of our favorite guests on the show, and he is the mortgage guy. Whether you're looking for a refi or a mortgage to purchase a new home, Mike Rauch will get you the answers you need. The mortgage firm is licensed to do loans in Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, and they have local offices that cover all of South Florida. So if you're thinking about a refi or a new mortgage, the mortgage guy, Mike Rauch, and find out what he can do for you. The Mortgage Firm, Inc., NMLS 189233, Florida license MLD 78, equal housing lender. The law office of Paul A. Krasker has been specializing in real estate law for nearly 25 years and has the professional team you need. Upside down with your house, Paul's team can help you conduct short sales, loan modifications, even if you're behind on payments. They also help you with foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. They can even help you get a student loan modification and repair your credit to get the score you need. Paul's full service team has helped thousands of our listeners, and they can help you too. Trident Title LLC is the largest privately owned title company in Florida. When you need a title company to complete a refi, home purchase, or sale, Trident Title has got you covered. Not only do they offer competitive pricing, Trident Title has attorneys on staff to make sure if you have bumps in the road declaring title that you can get the job done. Beware, not all title companies in Florida have attorneys on staff. Trident Title does and complies with all the new federal regulations released last year. Ross Komarinetz, owner of Brightway Insurance, has been helping our listeners get great rates on homeowners insurance plans. Haven't checked your homeowners insurance policy in a while? This is a great way to help reduce your monthly mortgage payment. Ross can also help with renters and auto insurance. Ross is only a phone call away and can usually get the answers you need same day.
Call Ross today at 561-425-6228 or drop by his office at 873 Donald Ross Road in Juno Beach.
So now you know why I'm happy to be part of the Florida Talk Real Estate Show, the longest running real estate show in Florida. And all these sponsors are just a phone call or a click away. Just call 888-973-7828. That's 888-973-7828. Or go to floridatalkrealestate.com. That's floridatalkrealestate.com. And don't forget to use the most accurate search engine to find your new home or ask for a free home valuation because floridatalkrealestate.com has you covered. That's floridatalkrealestate.com.
This is Real Radio 92.1 and 101.7. Real talk for the Palm Beaches and the Treasure Coast. This is Florida Talk Real Estate with Jim Paola and Johnny C. Got a question for the show? Call us live at 1-877-927-6969.
Just over 20 minutes remaining for you on a Saturday. If you got questions, comments, concerns, dial it up. 877-927-6969. Jim with you will line you up there. Make the call. We'll take the call. And of course, if you're not comfortable on air, always remember Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com. Your one-stop real estate shop, that is floridatalkrealestate.com. Access to the entire team. And you can call the hotline too. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, answered by a live body. 888-973-7828. Find the hotline at floridatalkrealestate.com. I'm Johnny C. Oh, Mike Rauch, mortgage guy from the mortgage firm.
I feel so weird not to have the star. We're down to 1 star, Johnny. That's you. How are you?
Yep.
Yeah, you know what? I'm clinging to that little bit of hope. I had a pocket full early in the show, and it's fading at this point. But you know what? I can lean on Ross Komarinetz, Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach. How are you, Ross?
I'm doing all right. Although I didn't like how you tried to shift the blame from the evil landlords
to the property appraiser,
and the insurance guy.
You saw that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's purely the evil landlords that have been increasing rent so that they can fly on their
Wait a second.
That's Jimmy D. Jim DePolo with the Florida Home Pros team, Keller Williams Innovations.
I seem to remember that you're a landlord.
Yeah, but I didn't remember we kept it the same, you know? So,
I'm teasing you.
This is a great segue into our investment properties segment.
Yeah. I want to get insurance first, and then we're going to talk about inflation, and they're kind of tied in Florida right now. So Ross, there was a big article in the New York Times. I'm sorry I didn't send it to you, but I read it very quickly last night, so I didn't read the whole thing. But the gist of it is they were wondering with Ian and the amount of damage that happened, is it going to destroy the insurance market down here and make it almost impossible to buy a home? It was very doom and gloom, the few paragraphs I read. Some of the numbers I read, Ross, is they're thinking that there was $67 billion of damages, not including flood damages. Now, I don't know if that include cars and everything, but they called it property damage, right? $67 billion.
Not including flood?
Not including flood, right?
That seems high.
Does it seem high? Because they said that this is going to tie with Katrina.
Well,
right
I mean,
now,
are
they're
they
saying
saying
that
like
it's going to be tied with Katrina as far as damage.
So are they saying total destruction, Florida into South Carolina, Georgia, as
maybe
it weaved its way through?
Well, I don't think so, because they were saying they were focusing specifically on Florida's insurance problems. So I think the $67 billion was Florida. I could be wrong. It doesn't really matter the number, other than it's a big number, right? It doesn't matter 67 billion or 50 billion. It's just a big number. But they're thinking that this is going to be as bad economically as Katrina. That's what they're thinking, and 3 times as bad as Hurricane Andrew. So what I'm wondering is, Mike told me that there was a company he heard that might be going under, another insurance company that might be going under. What do you think is going to be happening with the insurance industry as far as trying to get property insurance to buy a home or to continue to have your house insured? Well, it's going to be more expensive. That part isn't it. But can we even do it? Is it going to be doable? Because that's what the New York Times was asking.
Is that Jimothy running that siren?
No, I'm
Because it's like-
sorry.
it's perfect timing though.
Yeah, I know, right?
The insurance companies can, they have reinsurance, so they're insured for their exposure as well. The major problem in the insurance industry just goes back to fraudulent claims or taking advantage of suing the insurance company. And, until they change the laws, the way that the lawsuits work, attorneys and roofers and public adjusters are just going to continue to, throw things at the wall. And if they get one to stick, that's awesome. That pays all their bills and makes them money. Mm-hmm. So until somebody has skin in the game, and it's a double-edged sword, until somebody has skin in the game to sue the insurance company, we're just going to keep seeing these lawsuits and going to court. And then the insurance companies are we're just not going to insure homes with roofs older than 14 years right now. So I don't think it's the hurricanes that is the major issue. And I mean, yes, if we get a few of them, then yes, it could be very bad for the insurance. But right now, the insurance problems are with, roofs and lawsuits.
So that brings me to another issue, looking forward, right, from what you're saying, which I totally agree with what you're saying. And that's kind of, I know that you're not the be all end all of the decision, but it's nice to hear that you don't think like the insurance industry is like financially collapsing or anything. We're dealing more with the fraud issues and stuff and trying to
they are financially collapsing because of that.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, but not necessarily because but what my question is because they didn't fix everything in that May special session, legislative session, the state legislators in May were supposed to come and fix all these things so that we didn't have these problems. And they, what they did is they pulled out their toolbox and they used duct tape, bubble gum, and Band-Aids to slap together some regulations that just didn't work well. But what I'm concerned about, and I was saying this back then, I hope we don't have a big one, because if we do and they don't fix this, all the people are going to have the same rights, and the adjusters and the attorneys are all going to have the same rights as they do right now. And if we have a big one, then we're going to have a bigger mess on our plates right now. And it looks like that's what's happening.
Yeah, because people over here can say, oh, I had wind damage. I had somebody, they were telling me that like somebody knocked on their door and they had some tornado report that was in the area and how they could get them a new roof. And it's like, it just exacerbates the problem that we have now, because it's everybody now. Oh, now we have a new weather event that everybody can get a new roof for.
Mm-hmm. Johnny?
So Ross, you've explained, time and time again, but and you just laid it out too. Reinsurance for these companies, like they just get to the point where they're insolvent, and they just, we're seeing the companies leave the state. So the state's fix, or at least what they're trying to do, what is it? Demotech is the company that rates the insurance companies.
Good, Johnny.
So they're trying to replace Demotech with a company that's going to have a more favorable rating system. If they can do that, let's just say theoretically they can do that, and now all of a sudden we're getting a way better rating for these companies that don't deserve it. They're still in the same position where they're having these reinsurance issues. So they're still going to be in this position where they have, they have to really concentrate on the nut that they have in the state. If we can replace Demotech, how's that going to benefit the consumer at all? Ross, from your perspective, does it at all?
No, I mean, not at all. I mean, all these companies were A-rated until the day they weren't.
Right. Exactly. So like the smoke and mirrors that our state legislators are going, where they're really putting it all on Demotech. Like, wow, you guys are the ones that are downgrading everybody. It's like, right. But you understand the reason. Like that's a safety net for us, like an understanding of who should be in this game and who shouldn't. So if they can find somebody that plays the game the way the state wants them to, we're going to have a better rating for companies that probably shouldn't even be writing policies in the state. And then we end up in really bad shape. I mean, am I creating scenarios here?
Well, I mean, in order to replace Demotech as the rating company, somebody has to be able to accept those results. Just because we say Demotech is no longer, we're not using, or whatever the state of Florida isn't, you're using Demotech as a rating system and they're using XYZ. Well, what if Fannie Mae and FHA and, all the mortgage companies are saying, well, we don't trust those results. So it doesn't matter who's rating it at that point if the people who rely on the results, which most people want an A-rated company, but the people that are really monitoring it are going to be the mortgage companies because they're the ones who, have those underwriting requirements. So they've got to accept, if you want to say, I'm not going to say fraudulent, or, if they want to accept a rating system that is more favorable just on paper, but the companies are still the same, I don't think they'll do that.
Yeah, it just feels like in so many aspects in life, we're seeing almost like a dumbing down where we're taking the curve and just making it simpler and simpler to maybe just squeeze in as many more as we can, whether it's education or now I feel like we're doing it with homeowners insurance in Florida, just finding a way to be like, well, good enough. As long as you got it, we'll worry about it later. Like passing kids in school, just make it simple. We don't want anybody to have their feelings hurt because they're not smart enough to pass. We'll worry about them later.
I mean, I think it's that's the bubble gum treatment, right? We've got a hole in the dam is breaking, and we're gonna put our finger in the one little hole. So, I mean, it's got to be something like Ross said. There has to be some sort of de-incentivizing the legal process, right? Whether it's on behalf of the insurance companies or the consumers, that's the part that has to change. And I'm nervous that we got another, what is it, 2 years now, Ross? 2 years based on this weather event of people walking around neighborhoods saying, hey, did that tornado that came through, that could have affected your home, right, in Palm Beach County, or if you're on the West Coast, just the storm itself. So we got another 2 years of that type of activity that's kind of on the table because they didn't do anything. They didn't really do anything substantial at the state level.
Well, Ross, what was the number you said you gave us a couple weeks ago? It was 80%.
Yeah,
what they spent was on litigation, right? The insurance companies,
right? So a lot of people, think, hey, traditionally you sue, you hire somebody to sue, whatever, somebody rear-ended you, and you hire somebody to sue whatever the insurance. You hire an attorney. Typically that attorney gets a 30% or 40% fee of whatever he gets you. He gets you $1 million, he gets $400,000, whatever it is. With these types of lawsuits, if those attorneys charge $500 an hour, then they get their rate. They don't get a percentage of whatever they win. They get paid for all of the work billable at, whatever. If they bill $500 an hour, then they get all of that reimbursed. That's what they get back from the insurance company. Has to pay their fees. And so, whatever, I can't remember, it's $15 billion or $1.5 billion that was spent on claims that resulted in lawsuits, but only 8% of that money went to actually pay for damages. 71% paid plaintiffs' attorneys. That's insane.
Yeah, I wonder if you can put the numbers together. If they just paid the claims, how dramatically lower that number would be. Would you just pay them? Just all right, there it is.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, okay. So what? They just pay every claim that comes in. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's so hard.
It's such a tough situation that we're in. We gotta get a backbone and get this under control, because it's going to be affecting everybody in so many different levels. When you're selling your house, when you're buying a house, with your businesses, people are going to be charged more money because the insurance is higher, so they have to pass on the costs.
Well, and Jim, it's been easy for renters to be like, well, I'm not a homeowner. I don't have to worry about it. Well, no, you do, because you're paying for it. You're right. Believe me, they're not letting you pass.
Right, exactly. It's a cost of doing business, and they're going to pass on that cost. You're 100% right, Johnny. It's very, very important. So we're just going to keep an eye on insurance as we go forward. I don't know. Jimothy, I'm sorry, I didn't see this, but is Harold still on the line?
He sure is. Would you like
Oh,
to
let's
talk
go
to
ahead. He has an insurance question.
Yeah, nice. And thanks for your patience there, Harold. We appreciate you hanging in there. Welcome. You're on Florida Talk Real Estate. How are you?
In Lake Worth, now I'm in West Palm.
Sorry about that.
Listen, I've been a insurance restoration contractor for about 25 years here in South Florida, and I don't agree with you, a lot of what you've been saying. You know, one thing I know that's wrong with the South Florida insurance is the insurance companies are only they're allowed to have Florida corporations, and they're only limited to what happens in Florida, how much money they have in Florida. The rest of the country, if they have a fire or a tornado or a flood and State Farm goes in, it's spread over the whole country. If State Farm comes in here in Florida, their only exposure is Florida. And, you know, also when you bring up about the phony claims, let the insurance company, there's laws, that's insurance fraud, prosecute. They don't prosecute no one. They don't, you know, and as far as the pricing, we all subscribe to a estimating program that gives you the price. We don't make up the prices, the contractors. We put in the scope and the square footage and the description, and you put in a zip code and it gives you a price, and we live by those prices. In other words, if the insurance company writes an estimate and I write an estimate, they should be exactly the same if, you know, with the scope. So, you know, there's a lot. And, you know, the roofs, for 30 years, people have been living in their houses, paying insurance premiums, and now their roof gets blown off. What has happened to all of the money that they've been paying in that they don't, you know, do they spend it all, the insurance company?
If their roof gets blown off, the insurance company is going to come out and pay. The issue is with roofers and public adjusters canvassing neighborhoods and knocking on everybody's door in the neighborhood saying, hey, do you remember that hailstorm we had 4 months ago? Well, your neighbor had damage, and I've gotten a couple of your neighbors new roofs through their insurance company because of that damage. I'm pretty sure you have damage. Do you mind if I go up and take a look? And if you haven't had a leak, had anything, or nothing's wrong, or, you know, they can go up there and, you know, take a hammer and break tiles. It just seems to be a lot of those claims, and the insurance companies don't want to, are saying like, hey, that's an 18-year-old roof that's been baking in the sun. You know, that's not damage, that's wear and tear. So we're denying your roof claim.
Yeah, so I have a question for Harold, because it's kind of interesting, because I'm usually on the side. I had a very bad insurance situation a couple of years ago, and it took us 14 months, and we went to public adjusters, and we went to court, and then we ended up doing a referee. Harold, you know what that is. I never even heard of a referee, because that was past mediation. But my question to you is this, Harold, okay? Because this. Okay, so let me, because we're running out of time, so let me just ask you the question. What I don't my question is, as much as I do agree that I don't like insurance companies that much, because I feel like they don't back everything that they say they're going to do all the time, I also have a hard time rationalizing that everything is just the fault of the insurance company. When Ross came out with the statistic last week, where I think he said we are 6% of the total claims in the country, but we're 80% of the costs. That's not normal. So you can't say this is just, to me, it's just the insurance company issue, and it doesn't have to do something with the way our system is set up, because you're not seeing that in Iowa, and you're not seeing that in Michigan or New York, right? We're only seeing it in Florida. How can we be 80% of the cost of the whole country? We have fires in California, tornadoes in the Midwest. We've got earthquakes, other parts of the country, mudslides, but we're 80%, and we only get hit with the hurricane a couple of times a year. So something has to be broken, Harold. I'm just saying. I understand where you're coming, and my allegiance is more to your side, but we got to fix the system, where we're going to have a big problem. What do you think about that?
I agree 100% with you on that point, but the insurance company needs to go after, or the state needs to go after the rip-off artists, the people that are doing it. It's insurance fraud.
Yeah, well, we get back to it. We always do this. The state has been letting us down in this realm for far too long.
Yeah. Yes. Well, Harold, thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate it. Have a happy weekend. We only got a couple minutes left, Johnny, so we're not going to get into 2002. We don't have enough time. Sorry, Mike, that we didn't get into that. So let's do this, though, okay? We only got a couple of minutes, and I'm really, really a big fan of Mike's new loan application app. And I want to go over that one more time, how important it is to have a tool like this, especially when we're in a market where the interest rates are going up. Let's just get into that real quick. Last week, we were at 6.66. Yes, that's true. 6.66. I like that one. It's kind of funny. But it was even worse and scarier this week than last week. We're at 6.92. So we went up a quarter point again. We've been going up a quarter point a week for on and off for the last 6 weeks. We've been going up a quarter point almost every week. So, Mike, one of the things that I really love about working with you specifically is you have this app where you have the buyer tell how much, you set the budget of what they can pay for their down payment, closing costs, and prepaids, what they could pay out of pocket. Yep. They also set their budget for the mortgage payment that they want. And
qualifying payment. Yeah.
Qualifying payment. And then what we do is anytime we're looking at a property, we plug the information into this app. We could be anywhere. It's on your iPhone. It could be anywhere, your phone. And then it'll tell us if it's approved or not based on the criteria that Mike set in there. It saves so much time. And with the interest rates going up, it's really important to have that app. Now, we have to ask Mike once in a while, make sure that app is
the rates, right?
The rates have changed.
As the rates move, make sure I'm updating it, which I try to keep on top of. But yeah, basically it's a technology that replaces what we have been doing for years, Jim, which is know your numbers, right? Mm-hmm. You're qualified for a certain maximum payment. You have a certain amount of cash. And we would, house by house, we would put those numbers together, because ultimately when you're pushing your limits, you got to know house by house.
Absolutely.
And how much can you offer? What happens if you go in a little bit less? And so it's a technology that replaces what we've been doing, but it puts it in the hands of not only the real estate agent, but also the buyers themselves. So you can do a lot of the number crunching before you even go look at a property, which is really, really important if you're trying to line up like potential homes. Hey, I can run these numbers, make sure it works, then go look at it, and then figure out if we want to make an offer or not. So
know your numbers.
Thank you for bringing that up, Jim. I really, really, really like the app. Real estate agents love it, and borrowers are starting to get in there too and say, hey, well, this is actually pretty darn helpful.
Awesome. It's awesome. If you want to get access to that app, you got to give us a call here at Florida Talk Real Estate. Johnny, I know we're almost done. Sorry.
No, you're good. Absolutely. Wrap up the. You're good. You got time. You don't have to.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought we had I thought we were like 10 seconds.
I'll just tell you, I was disappointed. Jim said one of the things he loves working with me, and then he talks about the app. I thought he was going to talk about my winning personality, my my expertise, but no, it's this flashy app that's got Jim all up in a. What a great show! I love having Dorothy Jacks. I have so many. I had more questions for her, but I didn't want to monopolize the time.
And I'm very surprised that we went YouTube only because our Facebook got shut down. My account has been blocked, guys. I got to figure out what to do about that in the middle of the show. But we had a lot of people coming from YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like our YouTube page. And if you haven't, and you're listening on the radio show right now, you got to check out the video. While we were talking about the open houses, by the way, we have the open house. And you could just go ahead and check out everything on the video afterwards.
There you go. Perfect. Florida Talk Real Estate is a .com, your one-stop real estate shop. Always remember, Jim, is the information for the open house on floridatalkrealestate.com?
It is 3261 Southwest Solitaire. And you can go there and you'll have a code for the gate in Palm City.
There you go. Palm City open house today. Get that and all your access to the entire team at floridatalkrealestate.com, your one-stop real estate shop. Mike Rauch, mortgage guy from the mortgage firm. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Shout out, Keith. I saw that. You're the best too, buddy.
Please do the same. Ross Komarinetz, Brightway Insurance, Juno Beach.
That's right. Hope everyone has a good weekend. It's fall festival week, time of the year. So go get a pumpkin.
Absolutely. And Jim DePolo with the Florida Home Pros team, Keller Williams Innovations. Have a great weekend, my friend.
Thank you, guys. And thanks, everybody, from listening to YouTube. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Mrs. Mom's Johnny C. Everybody, thanks for checking out the show.
Locker Room's next. See you next Saturday. Florida Talk Real Estate right here. It's Real Radio.